Well, the Final Four is set. Welcome to Basketball Street Beat, episode 12. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
All right, the Final Four is set, but, last time we left off, we were just finishing up the round of 32, so let's backtrack to the Sweet 16 and recap that first. Let's see, we had Gonzaga beat Florida State pretty handily.
Well, it kind of surprised me considering how strong Florida State was in this tournament after how they handled Murray State, led by a strong John Morant handedly. And so I really thought that Florida State was going to keep it close. But Gonzaga, they came into this tournament with a chip on their shoulder. They've been known to choke under the bright lights. So they wanted to prove that they belonged, in the NCAA tournament. They belonged in there with the elites. Of course, like they do. But, I guess Florida State didn't have enough gas in the tank to handle Gonzaga.
Yeah. And so Texas Tech, another pretty strong victory.
Now, the way they beat Michigan was what surprised me. Michigan had a strong season, and Michigan was a team that I had making a huge run. Michigan was a team that I had in my Final Four. So, of course, it was a surprise to me. Now, a team that really made a lot of noise, and I'm just going to say this. Sorry for breaking your bracket. Sincerely, the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, Auburn really manhandled North Carolina.
They also manhandled Kansas pretty bad, too, in the round of 32. It's their backcourt. It's their guards, the way they shoot the ball, the way they play as a team, the way Bruce Pearl got these guys on one accord. And Bruce Pearl said when Auburn made the Final Four, this isn't a Cinderella story because we knew how good we was in the beginning of the season. And, I knew Auburn was a pretty good team, but I didn't think that they were going to knock off three of the winningest programs in the history of NCAA men's basketball in order to get to the Final Four.
Yeah. They led, I want to say, by 25 at the half.
25. Well, they were up 51-25 at halftime against Kansas, and North Carolina just didn't stand a chance.
So Kentucky was able to scrape by Houston, who had a chance to win it, I'm going to say in the closing minutes, but just couldn't pull it off. But they almost did.
Well, if Houston just stays on this road, Houston could be a Cinderella team next season. They can be one of them sleeper teams next season. But Houston had pretty much a dream season. A team that I was impressed with, they got eliminated, was Purdue. Just the performance they put up in the NCAA tournament until meeting Virginia, in which that game went into overtime. True battle of the heavyweights. For Duke, a loss against Michigan State was something that I saw coming, considering the last few games that Duke played. They won by a lucky rim out against UCF. They won by a rim out against Virginia Tech. And I think those two teams kind of pretty much exposed Duke. Mm-hmm. They're basically sending a message to say, hey, look, this Duke team is beatable, despite the fact that they have Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, and Zion Williamson. This team is still beatable. And Michigan State answered the call.
Yeah, Michigan State also handled LSU pretty well. There was some points during that game where it got within 4 points, but it was never really that competitive. LSU pretty much did what they have done all season long, and that's get on hot streaks and then start taking 3-point shots, but they're not very good at it all.
Well, I saw it coming. If LSU would have had Will Wade, I still would say LSU would have lost due to the fact, who in their right mind is going to outcoach Tom Izzo? You're not going to outcoach him unless you're a Coach K or a Coach Calipari. By the way, Coach Calipari signed a lifetime contract with the Kentucky Wildcats. But as I digress from that, I was pretty sure Tony Bedford wasn't going to be able to hang with Tom Izzo.
Yeah. Well, that's not too hard to conclude. Obviously, Purdue knocked off Tennessee in overtime.
The closing minutes was wild. if you look at Purdue, Purdue, they pretty much grinded out the whole tournament.
Yeah. So, just back to the Auburn game against North Carolina. Just to come out there and just kill them like that after North Carolina beat Duke twice. Once with Zion. No, excuse me, 3 times. Was it 3 times?
It was twice.
Twice?
The third time, Duke beat him. Because remember, the first game, Zion Williamson got hurt early. Second game, Zion was out. And the third game was an ACC tournament where Zion played. And Duke won the third one.
Okay. But still, they were able to beat Duke twice. That's still impressive, even with Zion Williams out.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Duke. They have a loaded team every single year. Coach K does an outstanding job recruiting some of the best players in the nation. And with Duke losing, and I know there was a lot of emotions after Duke lost. But honestly, for the players that are at Duke, most of them will be going to the NBA. So they should look towards the future. Coach K, he's going to get back to business like he always do. He's going to go back to the drawing board gracefully like he always does. Get back to recruiting, get the best players, and he's going to do it all over again. So.
So now that the Final Four is set, we got Michigan State versus Texas Tech and Virginia versus Auburn.
I say the national championship will be decided. It will be Texas Tech versus Auburn. That's my 2.
And why is that?
Well, I feel that Texas Tech, they have the habit of the hot hand. They got some of the best shooters in the nation on their team. And I just feel that, Michigan State's a gritty team, but I feel that once Texas Tech gets on a hot streak, there's no stopping them. And it's the same with Auburn. You put them on a hot streak, they're not going to stop. And Virginia's really good. Virginia, they came a long way from losing to UMBC in the first round last season, going down against the 16th seed. But I feel the way that Auburn's been playing, I feel that Virginia's not going to stop Auburn. So I got Texas Tech going against Auburn in the national championship game. I hate to say this because I'm an LSU fan, but I'm actually pulling for Auburn to win it all this season.
So Michigan State is the only one that is traditionally thought to be a Final Four team. Texas Tech and Auburn are making their first appearances in the Final Four in program history, and Virginia is making a trip to the Final Four for the first time in, I want to say, something like 35, 36 years. Michigan State's the only one to have been there recently.
All I'm going to say is this is going to be one of the wildest Final Fours I've seen in recent memory. A lot of teams, and all 4 teams came into this Final Four with a chip on their shoulder because a lot of people didn't really see Michigan State making the Final Four. Texas Tech, their first Final Four appearance. Auburn, first Final Four appearance. Virginia, first appearance in a long time. So all 4 teams are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. So I feel that there's going to be a lot of emotions on the court. And the referees are going to be very lenient in this one.
So you predict a lot of points?
Definitely. All 4 teams are capable of putting up a lot of points on the scoreboard. So I feel there's going to be a lot of points. It's going to be a lot of emotions. And it's probably going to be blood everywhere.
So I saw something somewhere that it was like 0.02% of people picked this Final Four.
I'm surprised anybody picked this Final Four. Honestly, I didn't have Auburn in my Final Four. I didn't even have Texas Tech in my Final Four. I could say there was only one team in that Final Four that I probably had going. That would be Virginia.
Okay. Well, I could say that none of the teams I thought would be there or there.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was going to be Duke and Virginia in there, of course, first of all. And I thought that one of my sleeper teams was going to be one of my other teams would be Michigan, and the other was going to be Purdue. But,
I had Purdue.
But boy, was I wrong.
I had Purdue. I had Duke. I had Gonzaga, and I want to say I had either North Carolina or Kentucky.
Kentucky was a team I had a lot of high hopes for, but, Auburn turned into that resident buzzsaw in the NCAA tournament.
But I also want to say that I also thought I had a lot of thought about high hopes for Michigan as well.
Michigan kind of disappointed me, considering the fact that, they made it all the way to the national championship game last season.
Yeah, and Well, no, I'm sorry. Michigan actually. Did Michigan lose to Michigan State
What, last season?
this season?
They did twice. Michigan State swept them this season.
Okay. Well, okay. Who do you think's gonna go the distance this year?
So who's gonna win it all?
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say it would probably be Auburn. I would have to say Auburn just because, I didn't see Auburn making it this far, but they've been playing some strong basketball. So, I mean, usually when you see a team in the NCAA tournament with momentum like this, it is near impossible to stop them. When you see a team with this type of momentum. Like I remember one year, Florida Gulf Coast made it all the way to the Elite Eight one year. I mean, they were one of the last teams you wanted to play against.
Yeah, I would have to pick Auburn too overall. I just feel like they got something really special going, and I just feel like they're the hot hand right now. Now we've reached the Final Four. We know who's gonna be there, and have an idea of. Well, there's only two options from both sides as who could be in the final. Obviously, with the big programs, they're just a continual, essentially a game of musical chairs as far who's going to be there one year, who's not. But that's not so much true about the smaller programs. Of the smaller programs, who do you think is going to be back next year?
Oh, the smaller programs?
Yeah.
I would say Houston is a team that's going to be back. Buffalo. I would have to say, depending on recruiting, I would say Murray State, pending recruiting. And, I mean, they pretty much took a shot in the dark with John Morant, because John Morant, he wasn't recruited coming out of high school. Murray State was probably, I think, the only offer he had. And I would have to go with Old Dominion.
Old Dominion, really?
I mean, Old Dominion, they've progressed over the past few years, and it's just this team. I mean, they're getting better year by year. So I would say Old Dominion will probably be back next season.
Okay. What about a team like Tennessee? Because they were really good this year, and that was a little bit unusual for them.
Well, I mean, with Coach Rick Barnes, who is an outstanding head coach for Tennessee, I feel that he's going to have the guys on the same page again next season, and I feel Tennessee's going to be back. Now, depending on how far they're going to make a run, that's uncertain because it's March Madness. But I do feel Tennessee will be a strong contender in the SEC, and they will be a strong force in the Big Dance next season.
All right. Finally, other than Michigan State, who has the best chance of returning to the Final Four next year?
Other than Michigan State?
I think Michigan State's a given.
True. I would say Virginia. I would say Virginia has the best chance. I mean, they were number 1 seed last season, number 1 seed this year. And Virginia's another team that's progressed. They became a strong contender in the ACC, and they became a national household name. So I'll say Virginia has a better shot.
Okay. Well, I think we about wrapped up our college basketball talk right there, and we'll get on to the pros right after this. All right, welcome back. Now we move on to pro basketball, and I think most teams have about 4 games left. All the playoff teams in the West have been decided. There are a few teams that are still alive in the East, but not by much.
And well, the East is always a wild battle as far as for the 8th seed, just so you can meet up with the buzzsaw in the East, which this year's buzzsaw will be the Milwaukee Bucks. But I mean, about 4 or 5 games left, and there is no time for I mean, you look at from 6 to, let's say, 9. I mean, no one is safe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Orlando's just half a game out of 8th place right now.
Orlando's a game and a half out of 6th place if you look at it. Charlotte, I mean, you got 5 games left, Charlotte, and you're about, 3 games out?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Charlotte would have to go ahead and turn on the turbo and pray that Miami messes up. But you look at it, I mean, for the East, it's always been a tight battle. I mean, not even the 6th seed is safe. I mean, the Pistons, 39-38, who have been making a turnaround the past few years, especially having Dwayne Casey as head coach this season, who was coach of the year last year. I mean, there's only a game and a half separating them and the 9th place Orlando Magic. And Miami Heat, this is where they need to play their best basketball. They're only a half game ahead of Orlando. So these bottom teams, this is where they have to play their best basketball. But, I mean, either way it goes, they're going to get knocked out pretty handily in the first round by Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. So Milwaukee, with one win, I want to say, can wrap up not only home court advantage throughout the playoffs, but throughout the finals, too, if they make it that far.
Well, if they make it that far, I mean, I wouldn't want to play against Toronto because you look at Toronto, the only reason why they haven't been in the finals the past few years is because of LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now that Cleveland is pretty much second to last place in the East, LeBron is no longer a worry for the Toronto Raptors, so they feel that nothing can stand in their way of the finals.
Yeah, in the West, Denver is one game back behind Golden State, so there's still an opportunity for them to clinch the number 1 seed, but I don't know if I think that will happen. But all eight playoff teams have been decided. The only thing that's undecided at this point is lower seeding, really.
Well, I mean, you look at San Antonio, Oklahoma City, it's pretty much a tie. And between Portland and the LA Clippers, there's like 2.5 games out between the Portland Trailblazers and the LA Clippers. So a lot of things can change within the next few games before the playoffs start. But this is where you're going to see teams go. They're going to hit the gas pedal, go on turbo drive, and they're going to, like I said, play their best basketball. And a lot of things are going to change.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Houston and Portland are tied right now for third and fourth seeds in the playoffs, so that's still to be determined. It looks like the 7th and 8th seed are going to come down to San Antonio and Oklahoma City. I say Utah is probably going to sit there at number 5, but potentially can slip to number 6 in favor of the Clippers.
Well, there's only half game between them, so I mean, like I said, things can change. I mean, don't be surprised if Portland or Houston, they try and make a run for the number 2 seed.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, I think it's still, the West is still Golden State's to lose. I don't see a real challenge in there. Not this year anyway. I mean, there's a chance that after this year, maybe, especially if Kevin Durant leaves.
If Klay Thompson leaves.
Well, I think Kevin Durant is a much higher candidate for leaving than Klay Thompson is. And then also you got Boogie Cousins, who is on a 1-year deal. I mean, yeah, he could potentially re-sign with Golden State, especially if Kevin Durant leaves. But, you know, I mean, the Golden State Warriors have their run, and they're vulnerable this offseason.
Very. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams calling them, saying, hey, we want this, we want this, we want this person, we want that person. And I feel Kevin Durant leaving will be a launching pad for a very wild offseason in the NBA. And it's something that I will have my popcorn and my tea, and I'm here for.
Yeah, there are going to be some teams, too, who are definitely going to want to make a run at some of their free agents. You got the Los Angeles Lakers, who are going to be going into this offseason wanting to get some guys to join up with LeBron in LA. And the big question is, can they?
Well,
What if this whole LeBron experiment becomes a complete and total failure?
Well, I wouldn't say it would be LeBron's fault because, I mean, look at Cleveland. They did the LeBron experiment twice. One by drafting him and the other by getting him back from Miami. Miami did the LeBron experiment, and both teams got a title out of it, and multiple conference titles out of it. So I wouldn't put the blame on LeBron because LeBron still gives his all out there on the court. I mean, I've always been a LeBron fan since he was at St. Vincent St. Mary back in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be LeBron's fault. I feel that that's something that has to be taken up with ownership, like Magic Johnson. So that's something you would take with the Lakers upper management. But as far as getting guys to pair up with LeBron, I mean, San Antonio gave LA the finger. More as far as out of spite against Kawhi for requesting a trade. The Pelicans gave him the finger more out of spite against, Anthony Davis for wanting to request a trade. And also against LA, like, why you want to take our best players and you got probably the best player in the world on your team who can carry all.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that in the Lakers, they gave the Pelicans an offer they shouldn't have refused. But back to what I'm trying to say, I feel that as far as off-season free agency is concerned, the Lakers are probably the most hated team in the league. So Can they get somebody to pair up? Well, their best bet would be to grab a top player who's a free agent, which a lot of these players are going to be restricted free agents in the offseason. So,
well, I think their best bet is to get Kyrie Irving to reunite with LeBron because I don't think they're going to be able to sign Kevin Durant. They may be able to sign Kyrie. I mean, sorry, not Kawhi, but I don't know. He seems like he's enjoying his time in Toronto right now.
And I mean, once Kawhi signed with Toronto, I'm like, this is where Kawhi's probably going to stay for a while. I don't see him going to Toronto then leaving right after. Sorry about that.
Okay, so outside of those three, who else could the Lakers potentially, pull over to Los Angeles?
That's actually a very interesting question. I was kind of thinking John Wall from getting him from Washington, but that's not going to happen. Washington will fight tooth and nail to keep John Wall. You have guys like maybe Kemba Walker from Charlotte. Or I'm just throwing all-star names out there.
Because I think you have to pair at least one other strong superstar with LeBron in order to really get something out of Los Angeles.
I would say Kevin Love, but he can't stay healthy to save his life. It's actually a good question. I would have to kind of wait and see who's all going to be unrestricted, like free agents in the offseason.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things I've been looking at is we already got two teams with 60 plus losses. We have another three that could potentially get there. And those teams are Chicago. Well, the two teams with 60 losses already are
think Cleveland.
Cleveland. Is it Cleveland? I want to say no. It's Knicks. It's New York, and
go back to it.
It's New York, Phoenix, and then the teams that could finish with, Cleveland's likely to finish with 60 losses. They would have to win out to avoid that.
About Phoenix, Devin Booker would be a fool if he stayed, to be honest. I mean, he's one of the best guards in the league. And, I mean, if I was the Suns owner or GM and Devin Booker said he wants to leave, I would totally understand because of how good he is. He deserves to be able to play in the postseason. He deserves to be able to try and fight for a ring. So actually, just talking about Phoenix Suns gave me an idea that if LA wants to go after anybody, I would say go after Devin Booker. Pair him with LeBron James, and with Devin Booker still being young, his game would evolve playing with LeBron James. I mean, look at Kyrie; his game evolved playing with LeBron.
Mm-hmm. Well, back to what I was aiming at. And Chicago is the other one. So, yeah, I want to say, okay, so just 4 teams that can realistically finish with 60-plus losses. Of those 4 teams, which one do you think would have the best chance to go from worst to first? Or worst to playoffs?
I would say New York Knicks. Like I said earlier, when they traded Kristaps Porzingis, they also made room for 2 max contracts.
Okay, so you're picking the New York Knicks as a best candidate for first to worst scenario.
Yeah,
worst to first. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, the reason why I said that before, I was really interrupted by, I don't know, something from my phone or technical difficulty. Hell, I mean, I don't know. Like Rick James say, meth is a hell of a drug, but I don't do drugs, guys. Promise you, I do not do drugs. But as I was saying, as I digress from that, I would have to say, because I believe if my memory serves me correctly, after Kristaps Porzingis was traded to Dallas, New York does have room for 2 max contracts. And you're going to have a lot of top players out there, as restricted or unrestricted free agents. The draft is coming up, so there's a high chance that the Knicks can win the draft lottery and get the number 1 pick, which also was going to be a gateway for them getting a call from the New Orleans Pelicans. They do plan on trading Anthony Davis, and I do feel that the Pelicans do plan on they trade Anthony Davis for the number 1 draft pick, which can lead to maybe AD going to New York. Kevin Durant might be leaving Golden State. There's a possibility. Kyrie possibly might be leaving Boston. There can be a slight chance that these 3 can meet up.
Well, if that happens, then yeah, I can see that. But the team that I was looking at is, I don't know. I kind of like Phoenix. They got a lot of young talent there, and there was a lot of games that they got blown out in, but there was also a lot of games against really good teams that they were very competitive in.
Well, I mean, you got DeAndre Booker, they got Devin Booker, and they also have DeAndre Ayton out there as well. And so, I mean, they are pretty much the youngest team in the league, and I feel that Phoenix can be on the cusp of a resurgence in their franchise. I mean, I'm talking about the resurgence back to the Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash, Shaquille O'Neal days, back when they were a playoff contender.
Yeah, it has been a while since they've been a playoff contender, or at least a legitimate playoff contender.
I mean, Phoenix, they were one of those teams you didn't want to play against in the Western Conference.
Yeah, well, one of their big things was they were never able to get a defense behind their prolific offense.
Well, I mean, to be honest, in a lot of games, Phoenix, it would just be depressing to watch them play. It's just depressing how much they just deteriorated as a team as far as their progression. Because they'll get a top pick, and it's the same result every year, and pretty much management is just like, what the hell are we going to do?
Right. So, I think if Phoenix can have a good offseason, they have a chance to really be good next year.
Well, I mean, as far as getting top talent, it'll be hard because Phoenix is probably one of the least marketable places to go as far as a top player going to a new team. Unless you throw them an offer that they cannot refuse.
Oh, well, they were able to sign Stoudemire and Nash.
That was during some of the glory days. I'm talking about now.
Okay, so you think because of the location, they're going to have a hard time attracting top agents?
Not because of the location, but because of their repertoire. Just by looking at their progression over the past 5 to 6 years, that would be a reason why they would have a hard time getting top talent.
I see. So, any other candidates for turning it around next year?
pending the offseason, I would probably say Chicago. They got a lot of young talent as well. I mean, you got Zach LaVine. They also got Louis Markkinen, who's outstanding as well. I would say Chicago could be a team that can go from, maybe worse to first, possibly. Y'all want D Rose back now?
Do you see any teams bottoming out next year that made the playoffs this year?
Honestly, I probably don't. I would say any team will probably bottom out. That's a hard one.
What about Boston?
It all depends on the offseason. I mean, if they lose Kyrie, they're more likely to bottom out. If they lose Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie, and I think also, I think they were talking about the potential of losing Tatum as well.
Yeah, Boston would be a team. I will also probably have to say Miami.
Miami, Miami's the kind of team that's on the verge of either or.
I mean, it can go either way, but like I said, it all depends on your off season.
Yeah, and then finally to wrap this up, we had a few retirement announcements. Dirk Nowitzki plans on retiring. If I'm correct, I believe Vince Carter said that this is his last year, and then Dwayne Wade.
All first ballot Hall of Famers.
Well, without question.
Oh, without question. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is top 10 as far as top scorers in NBA history. Look at Dwayne Wade. I mean, Dwayne Wade has been the heart and spirit of every team he's been a part of. Vince Carter, I mean, he's Vince Carter.
Yeah, what blew me away at the start of the season is when they announced that Vince Carter and Dirk Nowitzki were the only active players in the league that had been drafted in the 90s. Everyone else had been drafted after the turn of the century.
It just shows, I mean, their love for the game. It just shows their passion, and that they're still willing to play at such a seasoned age.
Yeah, I mean, and neither guys really were particularly terrible at this point in their careers. I mean, obviously they weren't the same players they were in their prime, but yeah, Dirk could still make some shots.
Oh, he said. I mean, I remember when he passed to Wilt Chamberlain because he came off the bench this season and he broke it against the Pelicans. The Mavericks let him start that game so that way he can go ahead and break that record.
Yeah, so a trio of longtime players that have been some of the best in the league for so many years. Sad to see them go. No. Was Vince Carter on the Mavericks team that won the championship?
He wasn't.
He
I think he wasn't.
Was he on a team that won the championship?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Oh, it'll be disappointing to see Carter go without a ring. But Dirk and obviously Dwayne Wade have.
Dirk got a ring, and Dwayne Wade actually got 3 rings. Actually.
Yeah, he got 3.
He got 3 because he won one with Shaquille O'Neal. They beat the Mavericks in his first one, and then he beat OKC and San Antonio. Yeah, San Antonio the first time around. Right, and then San Antonio just blasted him the second time around, but that's totally different.
Yeah, that was a no contest. I remember that finals. Except for the one game they won in that series, that finals reminded me a lot of the Cleveland San Antonio.
Oh God, if you took LeBron from that starting lineup, that was probably the worst team in the league.
Yeah, and San Antonio swept the Cavaliers with ease.
Too much ease.
All right, well that just about does it for this episode of Basketball Street Beat. I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
You can find us on YouTube, Twitters, Facebook, or AISportsNetwork.com. This has been an AI Sports Network production. Signing out.
Ciao.